I always thought, and it's because it had happened so much in the past. I always thought for some reason, this was being set up this way. Information was being given a certain way, right?
Absolutely. I mean, we've both gone through that. Competed where we didn't have any other options. Where we just had to compete at these shows, even though we knew there was corruption going on, and like you said, some guys might have new events or just things not really done properly or fair.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Shaw Strength Podcast. I am joined today by none other than Mr. Hafthor Björnsson. And Hafthor, it's good to have you, man.
Thank you so much, man. Always good talking to you and hanging out. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, this is good, man. We got to sit down, I guess, about a year ago and kind of talk. And we were talking about
already.
I know. I was thinking about it. It has, which is wild. Just about, maybe not quite a year, but
we actually, I think we filmed in March, so not quite.
Yeah,
a year. Am I correct?
No, it would have been Olympia. So no,
was it in Olympia?
Yeah,
so it's been a
in
year.
Florida.
It's literally been a year.
Yeah,
holy shit. Okay.
So we were talking about then your comeback to Strongman.
Yep.
And everybody was excited, obviously, and you were kind of building up in your prep. In your training, and now we're into the year, man. You've had some big contests, and I feel like you have obviously made a ton of progress, like in coming back, and tell me how you're feeling. How are you feeling overall? How's your body feeling? How are things going at this moment?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very grateful to my body. My body's holding up quite well. Obviously, in the beginning when I just started, since being away from someone for so long, it was a shock for my body, gaining so much body weight and trying to, gain all that strength back. My pain, my body was just in pain, throughout the day, all day, every day. Now I feel like I'm back to the point where I feel normal again. I'm not always aching, Oh,
that's good. That's good.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. And strength-wise, it's going well. I'm just slowly but surely getting back. I'm not to my, what can I say? No, I'm not at my best yet. In certain moments, in certain events, yes, I am. But I think the pressing still needs some time. I'm making huge progress, though.
Yeah.
It's just the pack. It's harder to come back from it than I actually thought it would be. It's been a challenge, but I'm still making progress. I'm still seeing results in the gym, and I have no doubts at all that I'll be able to get to my absolutely best again.
I love that, man. I love that. I mean, it's a process, especially with a major injury, like that. It's something I feel like your body, number one, has to heal, absolutely. And then number two, it's this mentally trusting yourself again, going through training. And when you go into training, are you at a point now where you only think about it a little bit, or do you not think about it at all going into those movements?
Honestly, I don't think about it at all right now, which is amazing. I'm at the point right now where I'm doing overhead presses. I don't feel anything in my pack, no sensation, no nothing. If I'm doing flat dumbbell presses, flat, bench press, I can feel a small sensation, nothing crazy, but I just try to stay away from that for the most part. Incline, overhead presses, there's nothing,
No, that's great, man. I mean, well, you had a great surgeon too.
Yeah, amazing,
right?
Absolutely.
And I think this is something with those type of injuries, people don't necessarily think hey, you got to do your homework on the surgeon and who's going to fix you, and how qualified are they, this type of stuff, who's going to work on you, because you're going through that, but you want to come back to a high level and have it work, and I've seen it. I'm sure you have too. People get surgery and they go to somebody that doesn't necessarily understand or won't do it at a high level. And, you know, I mean, I know for me with my bicep, when I had that fixed, I researched everybody. I called them. I explained. And, you know, I was really lucky to have, there was two of the top, the best two that I could find. One was in Boston and one was in Colorado by me. And I called both of them. And the guy in Colorado ended up being, in my opinion, the best. But I went to him, and it was like I would have flown anywhere to have the surgery, you know, to get it fixed right.
Yeah, and I think, you know, at this level where both on me and at, you know, we have to do these things. We have to make sure that we, you know, our body is our, you know, that's how we make a living. You know, that's, you know, that's our, you know, how we, you know, survive. So to me, it was a no-brainer to, you know, do the same that you did. You know, I did some research. You know, I looked around. I made some phone calls. I had some meetings with a few different surgeons, and yeah, I was very lucky to find, in my opinion, the best qualified one for me, you know. To
Where did you have to go? Where was he at?
I flew to it's close to Los Angeles.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah. Orange County.
Okay.
Yeah, so I did the surgery there, and so it was quite a travel, but worth it for sure for me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you fight the right guy, right?
Yeah, 100%.
It's super important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
Have you talked to him at all after?
Yeah.
Like, is he happy with your progress? And
Absolutely, yeah. Shout out to Steve Mora. He's a great guy, great surgeon. Definitely recommend if you guys are, you know, ever have a pack tear, you know, reach out to Steve Mora.
That's the guy.
He's amazing. He's the guy.
love it.
Yeah, I do talk to him, you know, and we have chats. You know, we have had chats after after I've healed and yeah, you know, yeah, for sure.
That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. So, what's your outlook? I want to talk to you about strongman in general, right? Because I feel like you're at an interesting point now, and I kind of got to have this for myself, where like you have these almost eras, right? Where you're in the sport, you're competing, and right now I would say you're one of the guys that has seen different eras kind of come through, and you know different guys where you go back, and like I got to come in when Mariusz Pudzianowski was there, for example, and some of those guys, and then Zadrunas obviously for a large bulk of my career and your career, right? And then you're there showing up, and like it's been this interesting progression,
for sure.
So what are your thoughts? I guess maybe the right way to ask the question is like how the sport is going, right? And what is, because people talk about maybe this new era of guys, and what's your opinion on it? Like the shift, have you seen a shift in mindset, in approach, being around them? Like, is it different maybe than, let's say, 2000, I don't know, 13, 14, 15, like around that time? Like what's different in your opinion? Or are there differences?
Yeah, I mean, there's a huge difference in
Okay.
my opinion. I feel like today's era, everybody's so friendly, so nice, everybody's buddies. Back when we were competing, it was tense. It was like we wanted to win. It was all competition. It was all business.
Absolutely.
At least I treated that way. I still treat it that way.
Yeah.
So it has changed a lot. I feel like back when we were competing, yes, we would, talk and chat, but when we were competing, it was tense.
Absolutely.
I mean, let's be honest, we were both very competitive, as well as Citrunas and all other guys. We all wanted to win. We were all trying everything in our power to win. I'm not saying the guys nowadays don't do the same thing. It's just different, It's a more friendlier vibe, yeah, it's a bit different for sure.
Yeah. Do you think the guys approach when they're showing up, right? Like and they're being, like you're using the word friendly. I would agree. It's shifted where you almost could cut the tension, right? We would show up to an athlete meeting and it was like, of course we're saying hi.
Yeah.
Then we sit in the meeting, we listen to the rules. The rules were very serious. What are the rules? How's it going to go down? And then we're pulling out food for sure. We're eating during the meetings.
100%.
Like there's no stone unturned.
Everything
None.
is just, with the nutrition, with the sleep, with the training, you would travel with your physio guy, and I would do the same thing sometimes. We would travel with our coaches, and we had like a team around us because we were trying to be as good as we possibly could be,
Yeah.
And I feel like today's area, I don't really see the guys being when I travel, when I'm competing, I still do the thing today, I have my team with me. I rent out Airbnbs for my team. I fly everyone out. I have my chef with me, my coach with me, my assistant person. My camera guy. So I have my whole team with me.
Yep.
Because I wanna, be the best I can be.
Yes.
I don't really see the same thing with this area today. Like I'm backstage at SMOE eating my food,
Yes.
having my snack. I'm looking around and I see no one doing the same thing.
Isn't that wild?
It is wild, and I wonder like why, why put all this effort in if you can't have your meal there?
Yeah.
Like I often ask the guys, like, do you have meals with you? Like, no. And I find that strange, Why wouldn't you put that small effort into it just to, because everything counts,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
weird to me.
I would say the same thing, and I know for me, I would have not only the meal I thought I needed, I would have a backup meal
100%.
as well, just in case something ran long or you were prepared, this type of thing. And like, I don't know if you see it. Do you see it as a weakness for these guys, for the younger guys? Like they've come in, and I don't think you could argue it's that they didn't see somebody else setting an example. But here's the thing. This is what I would say. Is if we were in a meeting, and I don't know if you felt the same way or not, right?
Yeah.
If we're in a meeting and let's just say I saw you pull out food.
Yeah. Then you would
I'm gonna pull out the food.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I'm not letting this dude think he's eating more than me, right? You know what I'm saying?
100%,
Right? And if you were sitting there having a meal, bro, and I didn't have food with me, I'd be like, man, this dude is beating me right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, 100%.
Wouldn't you would feel that way? I'm sure, right?
Absolutely. And I'm
Yes.
gonna say something that, I felt like, just for example, yesterday I was backstage after taking some photos with fans in the rain booth behind, eating my meal.
Yeah.
And I see Mitsuper.
Yes.
And I see that, he's looking at me with my meal and he doesn't have a meal, I was just thinking like, I don't know, like, I feel like he was annoyed, probably at himself for not having his meal ready.
Absolutely, yes.
I'm not sure if he had meal somewhere, but I didn't see him at least eating it,
Yeah.
But these things matter,
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm not prepping for a contest right now.
Yeah.
But even for me, I had my appearance stuff, and I had my cooler with my meal.
Yeah,
right. So
yeah.
as soon as I got out of there, I'm eating the same
Yeah,
thing. And maybe it's just ingrained, man. I don't know. It's like you don't. If you're leaving, it's important because I don't want to be hungry either. But also, I'm trying to recover. I'm trying to do the things I'm doing now, which it's just a mindset,
Yeah.
And I
You
think
live
it's
it, you breathe it, you
it's
do everything you
wild.
can, yeah.
And I mean, you see it with the guys, like as they post the things that they post, they say the things that they say, right? Like I can see focus, like how focused you are, and you have a job to execute on with training, and the training is the preparation for the contest, and it's that whole mindset. But I feel like sometimes, and this is not everybody, some of the guys certainly are focused or don't say very much or whatever, but some throw a lot out there, and it's like the things they'll say or post, like it's almost like that you can see that they're not true, but they're saying it like, I'm bringing a whole new level, or I'm gonna show up with a package you've never seen, or like I'm gonna do these things that have never been done, or whatever, right? Like, and it's kind of you can almost see through it in a way, right? Like, and I don't know what question I'm necessarily trying to ask, but like, do you see it as a weakness? Like these guys aren't taking it maybe as professionally, or like, where's your mind with it? Do you see it as like, all right, guys, keep doing what you're doing. I know what I'm doing. Like you keep going in your direction. Like I'm I'm going to keep getting better and walk right over you. I mean, is that how you like?
I mean, 100%.
Does it fuel you that way?
100%. I know, like, slowly but surely, I'm gonna gain my strength, but I'm coming,
Yes. Yep.
And every single show I'll do, I'll be this much better, because everything I'm doing is on point.
Yes.
Not just the diet, it's the sleep, it's the recovery aspects, it's the, live stress, it's the
Yeah.
everything I'm doing is just to try to be better as an athlete. Obviously, I have a family, I have children, and I'll say this though, I might not be because when I was young, when I was in my 20s,
Yeah.
I was very selfish about my career, about being the best, and I would only think about, how can I be the best ever. Everything was about training, eating, and sleeping. Everything else was in second place. Now I look at things a bit different. I care about my family, I care about my wife. I want to make sure that I put effort into that as well. So saying that I'm very dedicated and motivated and driven towards my goals, they are also in my life, and I make sure that I show them my attention, my love, and my time as well. So there's a balance to it.
Do you think that life change, right? Like your son now, right? Because you said he just turned 4.
Just turned 4, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just super blessed, I have a daughter that's 15 years old as well,
Yes.
I wasn't as much involved with raising her. Her mom and me, we weren't together, so having a child now where I'm 100% involved into his life, it's such a blessing. I love every part of it. And, I'm just very blessed. I'm very lucky to have, 2 beautiful, healthy children that, I couldn't be more blessed.
Well, and that's beautiful, man. It's
Yeah.
Now with that being said, do you think that you're having to learn maybe how to, because what I always tried to say for me, especially after our sons were born, I would say that I had to I had to be able to shift gears quickly, right, between what I was doing. So if it was time to train, walk in the gym, it's time to train, I'm 100% focused on that,
Yeah, I have
right?
to be, yeah.
And then you get out of the gym and it's like, okay, now maybe you have to do some business stuff. So you have to do that for that time. Then it's time to be a good husband. Now I've got to do that, right? And now it's time to be a good dad. Now I've got to do that. So I very much tried to shift gears into each area and to be as good as I possibly could be and be as focused as I could, because then you're able to fulfill all of those things, and you can still be super focused and execute as far as training goes, but you can be a great husband, you can be a great father, right? Like, and I think that's an interesting, thing for us, like, that we now share, obviously, even more, that it's like, hey, look, this is important, but also don't think that I'm slipping on me getting ready, right? Because I can do all of that and still execute well. And I mean, it's fun to see you evolve in that way and say the things that you're saying.
100%. We're different, people right now.
Yes.
We have more responsibilities with our children there and with our wives, and it's a blessing. Like I said, we are definitely one of the lucky guys for sure.
Yes.
To have such a blessings in our lives, and it's like you said, you put the efforts into all of these areas, and it's good.
And it comes back, man.
It comes back, It's I think what has helped me very much coming back into Strongman is also just the support I have from my family. Amazing support from my wife, from my children, from my family, and that helps a lot, when they understand that, I need to go train now, and then it's just all business,
Yeah.
I'm never, and that's, I'm very lucky in that regard, that, my wife is very understanding and supportive towards my career as well.
Yeah. What do you think, or do you think I'm going to say your why, right? Your reason why. like let's just call it chapter 1 of Strongman, which ended in 2020.
Yep.
Right. Then you went into the boxing chapter.
Yep.
Now let's just say it's Strongman chapter 2.
Yep.
Right. For lack of a better way to describe it. Do you think your why is different now than it was maybe even it shifted early on, right? Like when you were younger, first getting into the sport, and then as you climbed the ranks and got to where you did, maybe the reason like why are you doing it? Do you feel like genuinely, and I don't know, which is why I'm asking. I don't know, like, do you feel like you have unfinished business that you need to take care of? Like what's the motivating, like what's that fire, man? Like fire in your belly, like what's it about right now for you?
Honestly, it's just the fact that I love competing. I love being the best, and I want to prove to the people that I can still become the best again.
Yeah.
After being away from Strongman for those years, I can still come back and become the best again. And I truly believe I can. I'm currently, in my comeback, and it's already going quite well. And my why is just I wanna prove to the people that I can still become number one, and yeah, honestly, just the love that I have for being strong. I guess it's almost like an addiction. I'm not sure if you feel the same way. Being strong is very alpha. It's a very like. The feeling of being the best is amazing. It's amazing.
That's undeniable, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess I missed that in a way. But I have changed though. Like in my 20s, when I was young, I was very, like I said before, I was very selfish for my career, and I had this mindset, this I guess a mindset that a lot of athletes have to have. You have to have that crazy mindset where you're just like, willing to do anything to become the best. And I was there, like young in my 20s. I just do anything to get that just like tiny bit better.
Yeah.
And I would just like early days. I thought the happier I would be, the stronger I would get. And yes, it played some part there. I would just force feed myself. I remember in my early 20s at my first World Strongman show, I think I was like 22 years old, and
2011, right?
Yep. And I would just force feed myself. I would fall asleep just after eating, sitting. Like I was just so full. I was just fucked. My blood pressure probably just skyrocketing. Everything was just fucked. I would just like eat like a maniac. I think I gained probably like 50 kilograms, 1 year. Something
in a year is wild.
Just something crazy. Something crazy. And my strength as well, it just like, it skyrocketed early on, Because I started, my first ever competition was 2009. And I was already competing at the World Strongman 2011, 2 years later. Yeah. And I was just an amateur, 2009. My first international competition was 2010. And then, like from that onwards, I was just competing amongst the best,
Yeah.
So my journey was fast, not as fast as Miss Huber's though,
Yeah.
He's been incredible, It's crazy to see his journey, I think my journey was kind of fast coming up, as an athlete, I felt like I gained strength fast, but he's on another level where it comes to like strength gains and just like, it's crazy. I think it's like third year now.
Yeah. It's an interesting one. I mean, I've talked to him a little bit because he kind of got introduced and did powerlifting for a while, and then got into strongman, and then COVID happened, and so he actually had qualified, I think, for the Arnold in Australia. Then it didn't happen, and so it was kind of this. Like he was training it, but he wasn't really able to compete.
I see.
So it's like he had been doing it for a little while, but not really having the opportunity to compete. But it seems like it did come naturally to the guy. Like for sure, right?
For sure,
so it, like coming up and then competitive wise, but I think he's he's a guy that was competitive, right, in a lot of things. Like he seems like he's a naturally competitive guy, and like wants, like a lot of us, to push, right? Like it was going to be, like I was kind of talking about some running that he was doing. He's like, well, now he's not going to run. He's going to run a marathon, So it's
Wait, he's going to run a marathon?
Well, he did run a couple marathons.
Yeah, he did, but not now.
Not now. No. But he's saying like he can't just go run. He needs to like run a marathon. Like it's like you getting into strongman. You're not going to get into strongman to just do strongman. You're going to get into strongman to be the best.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
so it's that type of mindset. But I think he's excelled quickly for sure, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's one of these things that's interesting. Like, how long will that continue? Can he hold on to that? Can he continue to get better? I mean, I think it's a fascinating, certainly a fascinating thing. I mean, we'll see.
Sure.
Because you and I have both seen guys come in, do really, really well for however long they go, and then maybe something happens, or I mean, at some point, like injury, unfortunately, like will pop up in some way, shape, or form, and how long can you avoid that? Can you avoid it, right? And hopefully the guy can, like maybe he can. I mean, I know at one point for me, man, and this is like 2011, in 2011, I didn't lose a contest. So I won the Arnold, I won World's Strongest Man, I won every other thing. I felt, foolishly, I was like, I'm invincible, right? Like, you're on top of the world. I don't think I'm going to get beaten strongman. I don't think I'm going to get hurt. I don't think anything, right? Like, all these guys have told me, hey, Brian, you got to watch out. Might get hurt, might get this. But that's truly how I felt, man. I know it was like you're just so hungry, so motivated, so like driven to go train. And then all of a sudden, it's like you walk in the Arnold in 2012, tear the bicep. Right? And it's like, well, now I got to come back from that. And then I have this other thing pop up. And it's like, I'm happy it happened in a way because it forced me to grow, right? And overcome that. And I think I got even stronger mentally having gone through that.
Yeah,
but it's an interesting thing, man. And I think like, even for you, like throughout your career, if you really look at you overall, there was not a lot of injuries. Like you didn't really, you had, the plantar fascia tear in 2019, which, was not good, but not major.
Nothing major.
Right?
Honestly, like my biggest injury that not many people really know about was a nerve issue in my hand. I was able to train. It just affected my grip for so many years. I felt like my grip was never like very, very competitive until like in my later years. Because I had this numb feeling like in my fingers, like almost like my 3 fingers, and I couldn't really squeeze my arm properly. So that was probably the injury that, I didn't really talk about or mention a lot, but it did affect my performance in the beginning of my career because I couldn't, my grip was just not at the level where it should have been because of that,
Do you know what it was from?
I had this nerve issue. I had like my nerve couldn't like properly like. Apparently, the doctor said there was no space for the nerve. I grew so fast.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if that's the truth, but I had the surgery.
Did you have what type of surgery? Just to create space?
Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
That happened to me too, right?
I know it happened to you as well.
Yeah.
And how was your recovery? Were you able to like get, because your grip has always been fantastic.
Yeah.
Were you able to like quickly get your grip strength back to where it was, or did it take you a long time?
That was the worst thing. I think I can pretty easily say that was the worst thing I ever had to deal with.
Yeah, it's annoying, huh?
Yes, and all for me, it was sleeping wrong.
Oh yeah, okay.
That's all it was.
It could have been also for me. I'm not really sure.
Because how did you sleep?
Back then, probably on my side. I can't remember
Side.
exactly, but nowadays I always sleep on my back.
Yeah, and I slept on my stomach.
Oh, really?
Right? And so after what happened to me is, and I'm not going to talk too much or go in depth, but after the bicep, I was in the like brace, right? So you're 90 degrees. Always I had slept on my stomach, right? I didn't know any better. So from when I was younger, is just how I slept, right? So I would always sleep like kind of my face in the pillow, my my arm up, that kind of thing. And I had no choice then when I had the surgery. and that's the brace there, right? So I'm sleeping like this, but every single night, just crushing, like that ulnar nerve that goes through your elbow, which is what you're talking about, because it's your pinky finger and then half of your ring finger.
Yeah.
And basically what happened is it just, for me, it got bad after the surgery because I really I just crushed it, right? So then it stopped working. So like, going in like in 2012 to World's Strongest Man, I stopped being able to make my fingers move. So it was numb. It was numb, and it felt like, so I would just wake up and say, oh, I slept on my arm wrong, right? Like, it feels numb. Like and then it just kept taking longer and longer to wake up. And then one day I went in to train log press, right? And I went down to grab, and this one went around the log, and my left one, I couldn't make my fingers move. It was insane, dude. And then like it got to the point I couldn't tie my shoes, I couldn't get dressed, I couldn't like, and then once that shut down, then all my intrinsic hand muscles, so all the small muscles that make your fingers move, they started to atrophy. So I really got in a bad spot. Like it was bad. So I got lucky. I got really lucky actually, because when I went to see the surgeon to look at it, he said that I was 6 months too late. So because he's like, once your hand starts to atrophy, now he's like, I don't know if I can fix you. I don't know what's going to happen.
That's scary.
It was scary. Yeah. So I was able to, build back up, but I had to teach my fingers how to move again. Like, I didn't never talk about that very much.
No. What year was that when you had surgery?
2012. Well, 2012. No, I did not. So 2012 it happened. I didn't have the surgery until 2013.
Okay, I think it was similar time for me, like around 2000.
Now, let me ask you this: once you had the surgery, did it come back pretty quick,
No,
or did it go away?
Like,
or did
like the grip strength, or the numbness.
Just the numbness,
the
and
numbness.
then all of it.
I felt, honestly, this is a weird one.
Yeah,
I still today have numbness in my small finger.
interesting.
Yeah, it just never goes away. It's like it's just stuck there.
That's crazy.
It's just stuck there. But my grip is good.
So your grip strength,
My grip is strong. Came back.
Dude, that's so interesting because I remember you having trouble with grip, right? And it was like, it didn't seem, for whatever reason, didn't seem to make sense, right? Like it's like everything else is good, and then like your grip would slip, especially like the Arnold with the frame carry, right? Like there was like times, and then I can't remember what year you did it, and you finished it. And I was like, holy shit! Like you finished it. All of a sudden, now your grip, like the grip weakness, had gone away. So that's crazy. I didn't know that. I didn't know that about you.
Yeah. It's I haven't really talked about it a lot. Like here's the scars here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've never told you that I had the surgery.
I don't know if I did know that, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's that was probably my worst injury. But then I tore my quad 1 year. Obviously the plantar fascia. The quad tear was nothing. Didn't take me a long time to recover from that. The plantar fascia wasn't bad either. It was just painful.
Yes.
Recovered quite well from that. So yeah, I'd say the two biggest injuries of my career was my nerve, which might sound silly. A lot of people probably think that that's nothing.
Yeah.
I was able to train quickly afterwards. It just affected my grip so much, which affect my performance obviously hugely when competing, because
Massive.
most strongman competitions involve some type of a grip event.
Yep.
And then obviously the pack. The pack is probably number one. The pack is number one. Probably the pack is definitely number one. The biggest injury I've had, and then the nerve, I'd say, the second.
Yeah. You work through it, man. I mean, now here's the question with those injuries, because it seems like a list kind of like mine, where mine was the bicep, and then the nerve problem, which was pretty bad, and then for me, I tore my plantar fascia.
Did you?
Yeah, before 2018.
That is, I want to ask you something.
Yeah.
So before that happened,
Yep.
would you wake up in the mornings, stand up, and you would just be so sore in your feet?
Horrible.
Horrible?
Well, I like plantar fasciitis. Terrible.
Yeah, like terrible.
It felt like
a knife was just
a knife. Yes.
going through your feet.
Yeah. So here's the ironic part, man. Is I talked to. So it happened, and the way that it happened was the training was leading up, and I had truck pull to do. Right.
What year was that?
2018.
Okay.
So it was before we had World's Strongest Man.
Yeah.
And I only had, I think I had 2 more truck pulls in training.
Yeah.
And I would normally go out and pull fire trucks, right?
Yeah.
That was my
Yeah, I
I
remember
preferred that. That was the best for me. And the fire department was great. Like they would help me out and that type
Yeah.
of thing. And so they let me know that the normal fire truck that I was going to pull or I had trained with, which was around 50,000 pounds, 50,000 pounds, with good weight. They said their normal truck had gone in for service and they needed to put that one into, like basically rotate that one in. And so the only truck that they had was a ladder truck, which is like 90,000 pounds. Right? And you can relate to this, I'm sure,
Yeah.
man. But it was like, I was like, man, this is like one of the only times I'm going to get a trained truck pull now. So I said, you know, screw it, dude. Pull out the ladder truck. I'll pull the ladder truck, right? And I had pulled it before, so I knew that I could do it. But it was, I mean, it's heavy. Much, you know, well, especially now, but much heavier than a truck pull we would have. I knew it, and I was like, you know what? Maybe this is good because if I can do this one and do it well, I know I'm ready. Like I it's going to boost my confidence, right?
Yeah.
And you know, I get into it, and I was pulling it great, man, and I just feel this like pop, like somebody punched me, and I didn't know what had happened, but I felt a ball like on the bottom, like I was walking on a ball. You know,
just knew immediately that you were injured.
Yeah. And then it was, oh, bro, that was horrible. And I didn't know, like, I didn't know if I was going to be able to go, like, you know, compete. And it was just one of these things you have to work through. But, you know, luckily, like, I figured out how to tape it up pretty good. And, like, you work through it, like, you know, just like you did too. But it's, you know, it's painful. But, you know, the people don't, and this is what I always said to myself, people will never remember if you had any injury or you were in pain. The only thing that matters is the placement, right? Like that's what, at the end of it, it's like we're going to work through whatever the hell we have to work through. So it's an ironic one, man, because you had that one too. But here's the thing afterwards. Here's the question. Did you ever have another problem with it though?
So now, like, I don't, like, I get tired of my feet, you know, and sometimes it's not as bad as it obviously was before I tore it, you know, and I treat it now better, you know, like I know now, like, okay, like something is happening, I'm a bit like sore under my feet, you know, so I roll it, you know, I do whatever I can.
Did you fully detach it?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So when they say if you fully attach, you shouldn't go again because it's
No,
gone.
you can't tear it.
Yeah. So, but I still get sore on my feet, you know. It's just, you know, my body weight, or what it is. I don't know what it is, you know. Just like after training heavy, squatting heavy, running with heavy yokes, you know, all of those things, you know. Just like after a big training, you know, after I wake up, I go walk around and I'm just sore. I'm sore on my feet.
But not the same, right? Like did the plantar fascia go away?
It's not as bad as it was leading up to Worlds. Was it 2019 or 20?
19.
19. Not as bad as it was before then, you know, because like, and I didn't really know, like, we are used to being sore, used to being in pain. So, like, to me, like, okay, I'm in pain, but so what? I'll just keep fucking training. I'll just keep going forward, you know.
Absolutely.
And yes, I would get it treated, but just not enough. I didn't really know, like what was back then when I was just sore in the mornings, right? So I just kept moving, kept going, you know. I would limp in the mornings, like, and then it would just go.
Yeah.
As the day went by.
Just start
so
moving.
you just stop thinking about it.
Yes.
And then every morning you just sore again, and you're just like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
You go see you know, therapist, and they give you some kind of massage or treatment, they scrape it, whatever, you know. Maybe not enough, you know. And nowadays I make sure to roll my feet with a hard ball or I even something to just loosen up everything, you know. That helps a lot. But yeah, you know, it's funny though, like we've had similar injuries.
As we're going down this list, man, it's crazy.
Yeah. Everything about my biceps still have held up, thankfully, hopefully.
Yes, yeah. Let's knock on wood, man. You don't need any of that.
No,
I it's funny, man. But you go through it, right? Like, but by and large, like for the length of time that you have done strongman, that I did strongman, like really,
both of us were for the length of, especially like how long you stayed in the sport for almost 20 years?
Almost 20, yeah.
Almost 20 years, yeah.
Yeah.
For the length of our careers, I'd say that we didn't really have many injuries. We were quite. And why is that? Is it, I truly believe, the dedication when it comes to the sleep, the nutrition, everything plays a part. Obviously, when it's really hard to, we push our bodies through the absolute limit, and the chance of getting injured are probably quite high.
Yes.
But we were able to get, through many, many years without injuries, which is, good. It's good.
Let me ask you this, man. How many contests have you ever not finished that you started?
None. I truly believe that I have. Let me just think. If you remember one, please tell me, because right now, sitting here right now, I don't remember one competition I have not finished.
Yeah, not one.
Not one.
See, and for me, the only one.
And before, sorry guys, Brian.
Yeah.
If anyone watching this, please come below if you know better, because I just cannot think of one.
Didn't do it. So the only one that I didn't finish was actually the Arnold. Well, technically, the Arnold in 2019.
Yeah, when you tore your hamstring.
Yep, because I physically could not get down to the stone, and that's the only one that I. But also after the injury, I kept going. Right, and that was if I could have done that event, I would have done it, but I couldn't physically get down there.
Yeah.
So that's but almost in 20 years, that is literally the only one. And I mean, it's not that I wasn't banged up or not that I wasn't like potentially injured. Even when I tore my bicep off, I finished the contest.
Crazy.
But it's an interest. The reason I asked that, man, is I figured you were close to none, and that's what you're saying right now is like none. How many things have you battled through where you were hurting, like, and you said, there's no way I'm stopping, I'm finishing?
Oh, so many times, you know. I remember specifically one year, I was probably very close to being injured, 2013, we were competing in China, if I remember right.
Yes, yep.
And that year, I think I finished third. Did you win that show?
Yeah, 13, yep.
13-1, she did on second, I was third, yeah.
Yeah.
And that year, just sit so high of me because my body, just throughout the whole competition, was just in so much pain.
Yeah.
Every single event I was going into, I just thought something would go. But it was just
Isn't that wild?
Yeah,
was there a reason or no?
I just can't remember why. Like I think I competed a lot that year. I think
you probably did. You were doing. Did you do a lot of Champions League or not?
In my early career, I did.
Okay, you did a few.
Like 13, 12. Yes. Then it slowed down, and I would just compete everywhere. I would compete in a lot of competitions, 10 plus each year.
It's wild, yeah.
I just that show in particular, I remember I was just in so much pain, and I was just thinking to myself, like, fuck, if we can just get through this competition.
It's got to hold together.
Without getting injured, that's going to be a win.
Yes.
That's going to be a win. So every single event, I would just fight through it,
Yeah.
But, I don't know why I remember that show so vividly, how much pain I was in,
Yeah.
Just like inflammation everywhere, like bicep, knees, everything just inflaming, just like this sharp pain,
But I guess my point is, you never ever, and I never considered it either, right? Like if I'm going to start it, I'm going to finish it.
100%.
And 100%. I think, and it is a different, I guess maybe the reason I'm bringing that topic up is I've seen guys pull out of contest, stop competing, or maybe they tweak something, or it's something small, right? And it's such an interesting approach, to back out because, it's like, I guess my mindset was like, if I'm going to start it, I'm going to finish it, right?
100%.
Good, bad, and different things might not go right, but I'm going to figure out how the hell to work through it and finish it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't know, like, where do you think that comes from you, right? Like, because in 2013, you probably, with as much pain as it sounds like you were in, the easiest thing to do is to say, like, oh, I'm hurting too bad, guys. Like, today I'm not going to lace it up. I'm not going to go, right? But like that doesn't pop in your mind, right?
No.
At all. So like,
Not once would I
do you think
about
that? Do you think that comes from like the way you were raised, like your parents? You know, was there any of that type of stuff? Like, they're like, all right, like for me, for example, you know, my mom and dad were like, if you start it, you're gonna finish, right? You can never quit, never ever quit. Like, I mean, did you have something like that growing up, or was it?
Yeah.
Like, where do you think that drive comes from? I guess.
I mean, 100%. You know, I was. I'm very lucky with great parents. You know, you know, yeah. Like, I also had like good people in my life. My parents, obviously, and then coaches throughout my year. You know, you obviously played basketball as well. I played basketball, and I had a really good coach that would just push us through the limits, and quitting was not an option. You know, so being young and having, you know, good mentors, good coaches in your corner at a young age definitely helps a lot.
Yeah.
And I remember, you know, if we, you know, there were just small things like if we wouldn't, you know, sit in the front of the class, you know, the coach would maybe just like not like that, and we wouldn't be able to play, or if we were late in practice, we wouldn't be allowed to, you know, participate in the training session. I mean, he would purposely leave, you know, quotes up outside the door, and if we could not memorize it, if he would ask us throughout the session, you know, we're young boys, you know, we would like remember a quote, like, fuck that shit, you know. But like, seriously, we had to do it though, because like he would purposely, if you thought you were not on your A game, you would go to, what's the quote of the day? If you would not remember it, get out.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, but so these people in my life, I was really lucky with people that, you know, pushed me at a young age, and you know, that definitely played a huge part.
What coach was that? Like, what level were you at?
I was young, you know. It was I was just playing. I was, you know, 14, 15, 16, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's so. I mean, I mean, high school.
Yeah.
Maybe like grade. What is that grade? The 10 or 11.
Yeah.
Or something, somewhere in there. 9, 10, 11.
Yeah. And having these, you know, people in your life that they might be annoying to you at that stage.
Yeah.
But they definitely.
Well, I was gonna say, man, you probably didn't like him a whole lot. The coach of that.
I actually fought him.
Did you?
Like in training, because like he was a basketball player as well.
Yeah.
So he would purposely, you know, sometimes play with the guys, you know.
Yeah.
And one time, he was on me, and it was very physical, you know. He was like pushing me. He was like telling me like, "Hafthor, you're not gonna score me. Hafthor, you're not gonna score me." He was like trying to make me mad.
Was he a big guy?
He was a big guy, you know. Yeah. He was trying to make me mad, you know.
Yeah.
And he was like rough on me, you know. So one time we just started wrestling, you know.
Yeah.
Just out of nowhere, you know, because he was just so intense as a coach. But I love him today, and you know, it was good for me though to have someone like that would really push me, you know.
Dude, it's so. Here's the thing: is like coaches can make such a big impact, you know, like on mindset. I think back in a lot of the questions I guess I'm asking you are coming from like what I went through too, you know, and like I had coaches, like one coach I played for was like it's you never show weakness. You know, you're either, if you get hurt, there's two ways you're going off the court. You either stand up and walk off, or you're getting carried off, right? So if it's bad enough you need to get carried off, then stay down. But if you can get up and walk it off, then you walk off, right? And it's just this, you know, hard, like tough mindset, right? Like where, you know, you're not going to show weakness, so you can't. And as a team, like as a team, everybody buys into that, right? And you're like, it's, I mean, to be fair, that group of guys with that coach was the toughest group of guys, because he, trained coached the weakness out of us. Like it just wasn't there. Like it wasn't allowed, right? Same thing. You'd go to class and they would at that point, and this was in college, but they would literally come, never tell you when they were going to come. But if you weren't in class, and again, sitting in the front, right? And you weren't, I think at that point, the rule was you had to be 10 minutes early sitting in your seat in class.
Yeah.
Even if nobody else was there, you had to be 10, and they would come and check. And then you didn't know until you showed up to practice, and they would have a list of like if anybody, and if anybody, the whole team got punished.
Oh, really?
The whole team.
That's actually like that a lot because because you guys are all team.
Yeah.
If one fails, you all fail.
It was that. So
that's cool.
Like it was almost like accountability. So like if we were teammates, it's like
and
you got to be there, bro. Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't want to fail your teammates. So
Never.
that's gonna put even more pressure on you not to be late or not showing up. You know. So it's cool. I like that a lot.
Do you think the athletic ability that you gained playing basketball? Do you think that's a big reason you were successful in Strongman when you transitioned over?
I think it plays a part for sure. Just being athletic, having that kind of background, being an athlete my whole life, definitely plays a huge part, I'd say. I mean, I could ask you the same thing. You know, you played basketball as well. Do you feel like it helped your career?
So here's what I think. I think basketball players have to develop a very high level athletic ability to learn how to move, right? Because basketball is not a one directional sport. So if you're playing offense, defense, you have to learn how to move laterally and quickly, right? So it's you can't be big and strong and just push forward, right? So you have to be able to learn how to move your body and become athletic, and to jump and just all of these different skill sets, right? That maybe, how often do you have to jump in Strongman? Not very often, maybe when you're throwing a keg or something, right? But it's not like, hey, go and do a vertical jump or, we're not going to test you that way. But for me, it was a very natural fit when I came over and I started putting loads like during a loading medley. And I was, picking something up and moving with it, but I could transition quicker. I felt more athletic, lighter on my feet because I had all that ability that I developed playing basketball and it naturally just came over. And to be fair, like I'm very thankful for that because if I had not played another sport like that, and I think basketball is the best example, you could have this argument with people about maybe football or, something else. But I think as far as developing movement and becoming athletic, like I think to play basketball, especially at any kind of a higher level, you have to have that. You have to, right? 100%. There's no way to get around it. And so when you're bigger, if, for example, both you and I had not played basketball, right, and didn't bring that athletic ability into the sport of strongman, I don't know. I don't know if we would have been as successful, right? Like, I guess you can't say because we both did, but it's like, I think that it's for sure an asset versus like if you would have never played another sport and just gone straight into strongman, and for me the same, right? Would you know how to move? Would you have been as good at loading medleys? Would you be as dynamic or as explosive, right? Would you be as explosive like this carryover? And I think to be fair, I think it's a fascinating question.
Yeah, it's a good question for sure, and I definitely agree with everything you said. That I believe as well, it does play a huge part. It does help overall. But I actually have a question for you, Brian.
Yeah.
You're starting a new career, new sport, if I could say.
Yeah.
Arm wrestling.
Yeah.
How's that been?
It's been good, man. Yeah. I last time we were talking about the MMA fight.
Yeah. You want to,
and we had a really good conversation about you going into boxing and me getting in MMA and how the gym wasn't a big part of that. I mean, not, I guess, weightlifting. Let's say lifting weights, right? Like you have to kind of take that out and learn that skill.
Yeah. Literally, my coach forced me to stop lifting weights.
Yeah.
Which was really hard.
Well, it was hard for me to put it down on the priority list, and I didn't. Well, maybe I should have, but I didn't ever stop lifting just because I couldn't mentally handle it.
And I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand that. For the first year, I didn't either.
Yeah.
Until
then
my
you moved
coach
on.
forced me. He just said, no more lifting weights.
Yeah.
The only thing I did was, I ran in the morning. I did, boxing, either hitting some bags, some pads, or some sparring. And then I would do sometimes the third session strength and conditioning, which would be bodyweight stuff, burpees, skipping ropes, some kind of high intensity, exercise that he would put me through, it was fucking intense,
Yes.
Like I felt like every single session was just about to fucking die. It was
yeah.
it was really fucking intense.
Dude, the commitment, and when that all fell through, because when we last talked, it was still on, and then when it all fell through, it was, I committed to it fully, right? Like I was in it, I was like, hey, I have a date, I'm gonna get ready, I'm gonna be ready, and then luckily we had it built in where we had to get paid, and then it didn't, right? Like, and it's like, for me, it was a huge letdown.
Of course,
because you want to do it, like you just want to go do it.
Your mind's already there. You're training.
Yes.
You're focused and locked in for that goal, and it's so disappointing when it then doesn't, because you're already putting so much work and effort into it. So it's a huge disappointment.
Yeah, it's frustrating, man. But you know what? Like, I'm thankful for the things I learned, the experience, right? And I think that it forced me to grow in different ways. But now with the arm wrestling, that's something. In all fairness, it's something I have been interested in from a distance. But with strongman, I never could really focus on it, do it, right? But I've always liked grip stuff. I've always liked, kind of arm movements and lifting and this type of thing. So I think that it's been an interesting one for me, because I like to break things down and I like to analyze them. And arm wrestling is a lot of this. I'm discovering it's way more than I even thought going into it, about hand position and the setup and where you go and how you have to get strong in different areas. So it's a good outlet for me, and it's motivating and exciting for me in a different way. I think for me, strongman 100% will have a very special place, like, for me, right? Of course, because that's undeniable. Like, I love strongman, I love the sport of strongman, and so it's not that. It's maybe like having a second kid. Maybe that's a good way, right? Like, especially you're not going to change the love for that. Yeah,
especially now, since you have your own fucking show. Own competition. Which is literally starting to be one of the best strongman shows in the world. Yeah, that's something huge.
Yeah, and I would love to talk about that too. But it's just, it's one of those things, man. Like, I think for me, if I'm being completely honest with you, and we were kind of talking when I first saw you here, like. I did compete in strongman for nearly 20 years. Yeah. Right. So for 20 years, and there was no, really, for me, there was no break. Like, I didn't really take too much of a break in there ever. It was just, well, this is the next contest. This is the next date. This is when I'm going to go. And it's like I am so programmed to have my back against the wall, and I need a date. I need to do something. Yeah. And so when, and the fight was that date, I had the date, and then the date went away, and it was kind of like, man, what am I going to do? And, I think for me, this is something that's, it keeps me hungry. It keeps me motivated and learning and mentally stimulated. Right. And so I think it's going to be good in that way, because now I'll have a date. Yeah. To actually go, and I have to be ready. 100%. I have to be ready. So,
where do you see yourself, like, taking arm wrestling? What's your goal in that sport?
So put me on the spot, man. I would be lying to you if I said that the goal is not to be the best.
That's amazing, man.
Right? And that's just the truth, because, for me, I don't think my brain can work any other way, right? So, some people might listen to this. There's probably are going to be people that listen to this and say, well, there's no way, Brian, not possible, right? But here's what I would say to those people is, and they would say the same thing to you about boxing. They would say, like, people out there cannot comprehend a high level motivated athlete, what they are capable of in their head and when they will execute. Because look, I'm not going to say it's next month or maybe not even next year, right? Like, or the year after. But if I know that if I get better and better and better and better, right? Like I know what I can do if I put that much into it.
For sure.
And so I guess that's my approach. And I can't, it's not okay. And I think you're one of very few people that can understand this. I don't think that I can just start something and not go after it. Like I'm not capable. Yeah. I'm not capable of that. It doesn't like it's not mentally stimulating to me, right? Like so, it would be the same thing for me to people have said, well, why don't you go do master strongman, right? Why would I do that? That doesn't excite me at all, right? Because if I'm going to do strongman, I want to compete against the best guys. I want to be against the best. It's not exciting for me to go win the masters contest, right? That's not for me. For other guys, I'm not saying bad, right? But when you've been the best, when you have been on the top of the mountain, for other guys that have never been there, they can't answer the question the same way, right? And I'm sure that you understand that as a high level competitive athlete. It's just not okay. It's not like, so within arm wrestling, man, and there's people that are going to listen to this and be excited by that, which is cool. And there's other people that are going to say there's no way. And I welcome that. I welcome it all. Like, tell me I can't do it. Tell me it's not possible. Like that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that's
beautiful
the best fuel we can get.
Yes. Yeah.
To have doubters, those people are good in the corners as well sometimes.
Yes, man.
For
yes.
sure.
So what do you see for yourself, man? Let's, now that you're back in 100% in strongman, like how long do you think you'll do it? Like how do you feel now that your body, like you're saying, is kind of getting back acclimated to all the training? Like how long do you think you want to go, and you may not know, you may not even be able to say.
Yeah, that's a good question. I've thought about this a lot. I spoke to my family about that as well. How long do I want to stay in the sport since I'm back? And the real answer is, as long as I enjoy it, as long as I'm, injury free and healthy, and I have the support from my family, I'll probably, and as long as I'm improving,
Yeah.
So I'm just going to take 1 year at a time. I'll finish this year. I'm definitely locked and loaded for next year.
Yeah.
And then we'll see. I'm not gonna, sit here and say, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years.
It's impossible to say.
Impossible.
Yeah.
I don't wanna make those promises because I am getting older. And I am going to listen to my body. I'm going to be smart. I'm not gonna force myself to stay in the sport if I feel like I'm not making any progress.
Yeah.
Let's just put it that way. As long as I'm making progress, because I have no enjoyment competing if I don't believe I can win.
Yes.
And I know I'm still making progress. I'm still, getting stronger. So that's motivating for me to keep pushing.
Yeah.
And as long as I keep improving, and as long as I believe I can become number one again, then I'll keep competing.
Yeah. I think you have a lot of gas in the tank, man. I think that's very, very apparent. And I don't think there's a single person that can say not. And I would argue that right now your presence in the sport, and we can talk about this too, but it's like, right now a lot of the other contests are happening, and we don't have to get into all the Giants Live and World's Strongest Man stuff, but like how I feel is all these other contests might happen, and there's a few times a year now where you're going to show up and every single one of these guys has to pay attention to that, right? Because like, well, Hafthor's coming, so this may have happened over here, whatever, but like, you're prepping for essentially the biggest, most important contest, right? And that's the stage that you're going to compete on, right? And I think that it's it's something that keeps it very fresh and interesting, because a lot of people I think are locked in on what you're going to do, right, and how you're going to do in these contests. Like it makes it really interesting. Where a lot of the guys right now, especially the guys like toward the top, you know, are they competing too much? Are they getting burned out? Are they not approaching it right? Like, I mean, I think there's a lot of ways to go, but I think that you have it mapped out what you want to do.
Absolutely.
Right. And I think that that's, you know, something maybe you can speak about, like your plan, like as far as moving forward, like, you know, within the sport, I like what stages are the most important to you, you know, to compete on and, you know, and to go in and dominate. Let's be fair. Like what's, you know, where is it important for you to crush it, you know?
I mean, I think most of the people, like my circle and the people that, you know, follow me know that, you know, I'm very focused on the biggest shows, as you just mentioned, you know.
Yeah.
And the biggest shows today are obviously, you know, Strongest Man on Earth, Strongman Classic in Columbus, Ohio, and Rogue Invitationals. Those three shows, in my opinion, are the biggest. I might do other shows, and I have done other shows because I believe that competing gets you in shape.
Yeah.
I do like to compete sometimes to, you know, I use it as a good training session or a good practice run, you know.
Yep.
You know, smaller shows, you know. But, you know, that's not my focus, though. My focus is on those big shows, first and foremost, and you know, I want to win those shows. I obviously came second to Mitch Hooper at SMOE.
Yep.
You know, made some mistakes here and there, you know, but still had a great show. You know, won five events, made huge progress leading up to that show. But still the pressing is a bit behind for me. But I believe, you know, with time, like I've said many times before, it's going to come back.
Yeah, it 100% will. I mean, there's not a doubt on that. And I think that, you know, the progress that you have made has been apparent, right? Like, and I think that that's the looming thing that's exciting, but it also, for the other guys, like, without a doubt makes them nervous, because you have gas in the tank, man. Like, and it's one of these things where, you know, this step away, it's such an interesting thing because the step away from the sport that you did and coming back, now this growth is happening, I think, right? Like, and I think your body composition is great. Like, it's one of these things where, like, the package that you're putting together is a good thing, right? Like, and I think that, you know, for you, calling your shots, like doing it that way. And, you know, truth be told, man, like, I would do it the same way as you're doing it, you know? Like, and I think that, you know, in a large capacity, and you know this about Strongest Man on Earth, and the reason behind it, like that, truthfully, is the contest. It's a contest that I wish that we could have had, right? 8 events, 16 guys, all of the points count. There is no qualifying groups. There's none of this. There's no politics. It's just, let's go, right? Like, and I mean, I think back, man, and like and somebody was asking me about this, and I was like, man, you know what would have been good is to have something like that with myself, with Zadrunas, with you know, with the guys that were, you know, say that kind of 2015, like that, you know, that type, 2015, 2016, 2017, like that type of group, right?
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
like, and bring it in, and then there could be, like, you're not able to hide any weakness at all, right? Like, you're testing it, and I'm sad. Like, I'm actually sad in a lot of ways that we didn't get to have a contest where that was never more than 5 or 6 events. You know,
I actually agree. Yeah.
You know, and I in a way, I wish that that, like, we could turn the clock back and run it that way.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, that's a big part of why I want to do it, because I want all the guys now, and your perspective is going to be very different than the newer guys, like, coming in as well, having done and been through these things and experienced different things. But I think that it's very important, to keep it going, to do it the best we possibly can do it, and to keep building that, so that is, it's what people want to talk about. Like the fans love it, like the athletes love it, and that's very important. I think it's very important for the sport because, it would be easy and I was like this year, like, self-admittedly a little frustrated with a number of different things, right? Like I took it to heart, like a lot of stuff, right? Like, and was frustrated by it. And I was like, I talked to my wife, Carrie, and I was like, maybe we just don't do it, right? Like maybe we just stop. Like, it's like, it's so hard and we could spend our time other places and whatever. And it's like, the problem with that is then we're very much going to run our own race for sure. But then it's like the guys potentially have that same conversation and are saying, well, I wish that I could have had that contest, right? Like that wouldn't have stopped and whatever. So it's kind of like that, man. And I think that, with everything that has gone on in this sport, I think it's great. Like I wish that I could have had that, because I went to contests, especially later in my career, and I didn't go into them with a clear head, right? And what I mean by that is, like, I always thought, and it's because it had happened so much in the past, I always thought for some reason this was being set up this way, information was being given a certain way, right? And to be fair, it probably was, but it's just like, I love the sport and I didn't have another place to compete. And that was what was so hard. And I know for you, you've kind of gone through that, like at certain points too. So
absolutely. I mean, we've both gone through that, competed, where we didn't have any other options, where we just had to compete at these shows, even though we knew there was corruption going on, and like you said, some guys might have new events, in advance, or just things not really done properly or fair, I remember I could talk about a few things, I remember many things that I didn't like or I heard, or like, I would leading up to World Strongman for many years, I would hear the events from other athletes.
Isn't that wild?
That's just crazy, so other athletes would know the events, but the people that knew them, the organizers, they wouldn't tell all the athletes,
No.
I don't know, if they just didn't understand how important it is to, it's, we literally sacrifice our lives to be the best at this sport. This sport isn't a joke.
Yep.
And so I take it very personally.
Yep.
When things are not fair or when things are not done right,
Yeah.
It was definitely hard.
Yeah.
Very hard.
Well, it was hard, and I think another word that I would use for me is it was exhausting.
Oh, for sure.
It was exhausting because this is the game that you had to go through for so many years, right? Like, and how it's possible that you're getting event information and group information for that matter, right? Going into World's Strongest Man, where it's like, why am I not hearing this from the promoters?
Yeah.
Right? And then how does this person know this? Right? Where are they getting the information?
Yeah.
And, from the start, the integrity of that whole thing is compromised.
100%.
Right? And so it's a hard one for me, and it's a battle that I internally fought, truth be told, for a long time, right? Like a long time, and it was hard, man, because it's like, well, what do you do? What do you compete in, right? And then it's like, well, if you want to compete in strongman, this is what you have to do, and you this is the stage that you have to go compete on. So you need to accept what's there, and just work through it, right? Like, and try to work through it, try to not think about it, try to overcome it, But it's like, I think as I got further and further into it, it was eating me up. So I had a negative feeling that I couldn't let go, right? So I wasn't just showing up to the contest where I was like, you know what, this is fair, it's legitimate, everything's going to be called right, everything's going to be good. It was always looking around and thinking like, all right, what is being done here? Like, where is something wrong? Where is the call that should have been made or didn't get made, or like it was called this way for what reason or whatever? And it's not fun. It's not fun as an athlete to go through that. You know, it's just not like, and it's tough because I think that it's very apparent to me. And I've said many times, like, how much I love the sport of strongman. I love it, right? Like through and through, just love it. And that's very apparent. I know that you love it. I know that and what you just said, it's very serious, right? Like when you go into it, like you're given everything. You're sacrificing. You're going for it. And so, like at that level, I think that is what's so hard. And it's I guess it's nice to be able to do something to try to make a difference, right? Like, and I think that's what it is, because ultimately, the truth is, just if we lay all the cards out on the table, I cannot control what World's Strongest Man does. I'm not a decision maker at World's Strongest Man. That's not me, right? Yeah, maybe I could buy the rights to it or whatever, like if it was for sale, maybe that's what would need to happen, something like this. But also, now we have our path, we have our contest, we have a title with Strongest Man on Earth to give away, right? And we can do it. Like, I can call the shots there. We can do the things. We can make it better, right? And I'm never ever going to say that I'm perfect, because I'm not perfect, right? And there's learning certainly to be done. But the one thing is the integrity of the contest will never be compromised, right? And the athletes, this is what we're doing it for, is the athletes, right? So all of the guys, like, never ever will somebody hear an event before another person hears an event, right? Like, that will never happen. Never ever. Because once you do that, it's a cascade of, oh, well, this person knew this or this person knew that, and why did they know it? And then the athletes just talk, and it just goes down this slippery slope of nothing good is going to come from that, right? So it's a tough one, man. But also, like, I think it's important for history. And I've talked to Paul Ohl a little bit about it, who ran Fortissimus, and originally where the Strongest Man on Earth title came from is from him, right? And he said the same thing, and it's the history, and if you love the history of it, that's what it's all about, So I'm look, man, I think we could go on for a long time, and it's like, speaking of history, like I want you to keep writing history, like etching your name in history, like doing all of these things, because this is something that it's a fun time. I think it has been a fun time for however of the past years, where you and I have got to compete together and push each other, and like, that's been a beautiful thing, man. And like, these conversations that we now get to have, because I mean, truth be told, when I was competing, like, this would be a very hard conversation.
Oh, for sure.
For both of us,
Absolutely.
Right? From a competitive standpoint, like, it just would be hard to kind of relax and like open up and talk and, feel like you could do this. So it's neat to have the conversations, man, and
it's
to
very
kind
nice
of
to be able to just sit down,
dig through it a little bit.
Just talk about, our careers, about, because we did, get along, but I think the thing with us, we're just so competitive that our friendship never grew.
Yeah, of course.
For me, if I should speak on my behalf, it was just, like I said, I was selfish. I was all about just winning, being the best, and you guys were my enemies. You were my rivals.
Yeah.
So why should I focus on you guys? I'm going to focus on me.
Yeah.
It was just all about that. It was just very, like, serious, all in, yes, I would say hi, shake your hand,
Yeah.
we would have, small talks there and there, but nothing really more.
Very surface level.
Very surface level,
Yeah.
And that was just because, I was very competitive,
Yeah.
Not because I didn't like you as a person, I
No.
always thought you're a cool guy, just because, I was competitive,
Well,
I wasn't.
yeah, man. And I would say it's the same thing for, and I haven't got to do this with Sedrunas, right? Like, because him and I were very much the same way. You say hi, that's it,
Yeah.
right? Like, we're not going to talk much after that. Like,
Yeah.
very, very, very rarely do we
Yeah.
talk about anything.
I mean, if you like a person so much, like
it's hard to.
It's hard
to-
when it's like
Yeah.
we're both very competitive.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about it earlier in the podcast, how things have changed.
Yes.
Like guys are
Yes.
more friendly now. Everybody's like,
Hey, man, what's up? Yeah,
like,
yeah.
eating together, chilling together. It's a bit. It was a bit less like that, I guess. When
Yeah.
when we were competing at the highest level,
Yep.
was more seriousness.
It was very serious.
Yeah.
And that's all. Look, man, I loved it. Like the thing is, I loved it, bro.
Yeah,
like,
same.
and it's, that I think that competitiveness and the fact that I don't think there was ever a question for me whether you were working to get better, right? And I'm sure for you it was like,
I mean,
know
in
what.
my mind,
Yeah.
you were fucking working your ass off.
Yes.
You were
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
pulling heavier weights in the gym than I was. So I was just, trying my best to lift heavier weights. I was
Yes.
just trying to make more progress because, yes, you and Citrunas, you were the guys that I was fighting at the time. People talk about, your rivalry. You guys had this amazing rivalry. And I was the guy there with you guys.
Yes,
placing
yes,
second,
yes.
third, pushing either you in third or Citrunas third. So I was always like this
Right there,
guy between
right
you
there.
guys,
Yeah.
battling it with you guys, and
Yeah.
it was funny. It was fun, and I'm very honored to have that I got the opportunity to compete at both yours and Citrunas, high points in careers, and both of you guys are considered the goats of the sport. So I'm very honored to
Well, and
to have
that's- yeah.
that I had the opportunity to compete against you guys.
Dude, it was great. It was
Yeah.
great, and I think it's fun, and we'll always be able to dig in, a little bit more and share stories and that kind of thing, and it's a beautiful thing, right?
It is,
Like
it
I think it's neat also for the fans to kind of hear a little bit of behind the scenes as well, like what happened, and I know there's a lot more we could dig into for sure. But when the time is right, man, we'll do it. We will
for
do
sure.
it. So
Absolutely, we'll have more talks for sure.
yeah, so you've got the Rogue Invitational coming up, man.
Yep.
That's the next one, right?
Yep. That's
And
nice.
how are you feeling for that?
I'm feeling good. I think events are interesting, but still good for me. There's a lot of moving, a lot of medleys, but I've always done well in those kind of events. So even though I'm a big guy, I have decent endurance for a strong guy. I move quick on my feet. So I think I can do very well. I think I can. I'm going to obviously go in to win.
Yeah.
Will my pressing power be enough to secure the first place? I guess we'll see.
100%.
Yeah.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
Well, I know people are excited, man. I'm excited to see you perform too, brother. And,
Thank you, man.
Obviously, wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, man.
And
Appreciate it.
thank you for your time, man. Give Hafthor some love in the comments. That was great, man. I definitely enjoyed that conversation, man. A lot of
Likewise.
fun. A
Likewise,
lot of
man.
fun. So hope you're all doing amazing. For now, going to be great. And we'll check you guys later. If you enjoyed this podcast episode and would like to listen to another, click right here. And to stay informed about new podcast episodes, click here to subscribe.